Hello and welcome. Straight from the office of the Tina Terry Agency, we present to you episode 15 of the Gig Sessions Lunchtime Talk. Our first guest today is Wayne Baker Brooks. Wayne is one of today's top guitarists whose signature style combines powerful vocals with liquid fire guitar playing that honors his rich blues heritage, yet effortlessly expands the boundaries of the genre. Born and raised in Chicago, amongst the most prolific blues legends and blues masters in the world, Wayne Baker Brooks' blues roots may run deeper and wider than the Great Lakes themselves. Welcome, Wayne.
Hey,
Good to
thank you,
see
Tina.
you. Our next guest is Curley Taylor. Curley hails from the heart of the Creole country in Louisiana. His soulful bluesy vocals and his band's hard-driving Zydeco beat blend to create their unique style of Zydeco and blues that keeps audiences dancing and coming back again and again. Welcome, Curley.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey,
So
Curly.
I
Nice
was
to meet you,
telling
bro.
Nice
I
to
was
meet you too.
telling Wayne, I never realized you two needed to meet
Cool, cool.
because I learned some history today that I didn't know about both of you.
Okay.
The first one is I never knew you played with CJ Curley.
I
I
played with
always,
a lot of them.
yep, and I never knew CJ was in your history.
It
And
goes up.
I never knew that Wayne's dad, who we all know as Lonnie Brooks, who used to be billed as Guitar Junior, played and started his career with CJ.
With,
Wow.
with Clifton.
I mean, with Clifton, right,
Yeah,
right, because CJ's the son.
yeah,
Yeah.
Uh,
Wow.
yeah. That's he's definitely the common denominator
the
Yes.
within us.
right, right.
Absolutely.
And
We're
so,
all linked in together.
Yep,
Watch.
yep,
After this is over, we'll all find out we're all linked in together.
yeah. Who knows? We might be related. Don't
I know
know.
because now, when Tina starts saying about Wayne Brooks, I'm like, I wonder if that's any relation to Lonnie Brooks
Yep,
because I know a guy that plays Zydeco, Stan Chambers, I think might have
yeah.
played with your dad and stuff.
Absolutely. Stan, a fantabulous bass
Yeah,
player, man.
and
Wonderful.
that's how
Yeah,
I heard of it.
yeah. He played
See
with
that,
my
Tina? It's
dad for a
just,
while. Yeah.
yeah. All right.
and
Cool.
it's
I
Yeah.
told you.
interesting because I think the reason that I chose you guys, other than this magical musical piece of history, um, is that, blues is full of so many genres. And, we can break it all down to rock, soul, whatever. But really, it boils down to blues and Zydeco.
Yep.
And this is what you two are so, your styles are so varied because Wayne, you're blues, and Curly, you're Zydeco.
Yes.
Yeah, it all started with blues, of course. Blues is a feeling, and of course, we all know where it come from. Slavery and trying to get yourself over, what's going on in your environment at the time. So music, you know, uh, either it was blues or spiritual back then, help ease people, the people. So um, it then derived to, rock and roll, but in Louisiana, it was a little different because, Louisiana, a lot of people come from, um, French, the French, Haiti, and then over to, Louisiana. So it put a little spice, a little French spice to the blues that was going on.
And I've always heard the story that the Acadians, that the Creole culture in Louisiana was due to the migration of the Acadians that came out of Canada. Is that the case with your family, Curly?
Well, I mean, my I started following the music in the Zydeco from my dad, but my uncle was Lil Buck Senegal. They played with Clifton Chenier. They kind of got all that, the blues player and stuff. So that's why that's where I step into it at. But it was all like Creole music. That was the, Cajun music come from the Acadians and stuff, but the Creole music, which were more the black music and stuff, came from the Creoles. And so that's why we kind of like, that's what
Okay.
separated like Cajun music and Zydeco music from where it was like Cajun music and Creole music. And that's where it came in. And I'm just more like into more Creole blues, soul sounding music. And that's just where I think it came from.
And I think that's, just where, like, I'm going to go back to the very top and just say, you're both sons of legends. And when they say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, you two are no exception to this rule. And what I
Thank you.
really appreciate is that you have this great pride for your heritage, but you do bring your own style into what you're doing. And thank you. Um,
Thank you.
Thank you.
because what I've always loved about you, Curly, is your R&B vocals.
Oh, thank you.
And
Well, we're
you
going to make
have,
this I'll try and keep it interesting for you in the years to come.
and you've done an R&B album that wasn't as Zydeco that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah,
And
it was a very experimental project that we ended up doing. That was before I had access to like studios, that kind of thing. And I was just messing around with a little 4-track thing at home, and we just tried to put something out. And we just extra music. And I guess as things are taking full circle, I'm coming back to it now, and so I'm gonna have starting to rebrand and repackaging myself on something new right now. Looking forward to it though.
and that's the neat thing about you, Wayne. Your vocals forward, and you did what I would have called a very mainstream rock album. Um,
Yeah. Well, of course, living in Chicago, there's so many great musicians, the elder statesmen to, the up and coming, guys. So I had to, make mine a little different, than what everyone else was doing. You know, I'll never forget, being at the Blues Fest in Duluth, and Dad went on right before another, big band that played after us, and they sounded exactly the same. It was like, okay, all right, I have to change it up just a little bit, man, because I don't want to be one of these bands that's, playing for cover tunes and, making a living that way. My dad always instilled in me and Ronnie is to be yourself, be different, don't do what everybody else is doing. Do what makes you feel good. And that's when I just started writing music. Just started writing music the way I felt. The riffs, either came first or the lyrics, and then I try to like match them together, and that's how I do my writing. But all of my writing comes from watching my dad. My dad would write songs all day long. I mean, literally, we'd be at doing our homework, coming home from school. He's right there writing. We having dinner. He's there writing. We sleep. He's writing. We wake up in the morning. He's writing. He's still right there. And sometimes he would help. He would have Ronnie and myself help. I would play the drums on, pots and pans with, spoons and knives and everything. And Ronnie would play the bass lines on the guitar. And he would be like, stay right there, don't move that groove, And he would come up with lyrics, and we would help him come up with lyrics. So I look at that as like one of my very first songwriting classes, and at 6 years old. So right away, once I started playing drums, but when I started playing guitar, I was like, okay, you got to write some songs if you're gonna play guitar. So I started writing songs, and that's what came out with Mystery, my first album, Mystery.
and it is still one of my favorites. I listen all the time.
Right on. It's one of my favorites as well. And that overall production, was just a really, really good production. You know, a good friend of mine, Jeff Jacobs, was the producer, and he just let me be me. And that's the thing about being an independent, is that I could do what I want to do and how I want to do it without someone saying, no, this isn't right, you know, or this isn't this wrong. And so I just was able to be me, and I continue to record that way.
And you just tagged on something else that you two have in common, and that's you started out as drummers. Um,
Yes.
because Curly, I met you sometime in the late 90s. I was still running Sandbox Productions. Um, I was totally in the jam world, not the blues world. And I went to New York City to see Gino. And I had met you a couple of times, but I think that was the one time we actually sat and chatted. And you told me then that, you know, you were getting ready to step up to the plate and you were going to start your own project. And
Yes.
let's say maybe 4 years went by and I get this job at Piedmont. And I'm in my
Yes.
first week at work, and Steve Heck comes into my office and he sets Curly Taylor on my desk and says, "We're signing this guy. Do you know him?" And as you know, Curly, we never signed you, but it was just so ironic that that I learned you did it. And that our worlds were going to come closer together because I was migrating, you know, more into specializing in roots music.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think it was Rosie that brought you to the table. And Rosie was like, "This guy is super talented, and I think Piedmont should sign him." And the honest answer as to why I think we didn't, I mean, I know it was partially your decision as well, but you know, I've never wanted to represent artists that conflict with each other. And Steve was very partial to Rosie and wanted to hold on to doing right by Rosie.
And
Um,
she's a great artist too.
yeah.
She is. She actually is.
And so, how ironic that we would meet again in
Most
that
definitely. That's why
fashion.
I said we're all linked in together. There's no way around it. We're gonna everything takes a full circle and we're gonna all end up running into each other again.
But that also shows how persistent we all are as independents as well. All three of us are independents, you know,
Exactly.
and I think, you know, the majority of the industry is independent. You know, they don't make as much money as the big, you know, majors do, but it's the majority of the people, and we all see each other all the time, you know,
Yes.
and especially when it's good, we all meet up a lot, often.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's talk
So
about that for just a minute, you know, because I mean, here we are, you know, could say, you know, there's so many ways you could say how music is not happening. And it's almost as if this COVID thing has given us, the independent base, a license to hit a reset button.
Absolutely.
And so what, if you can share, you know, what are some of the things that you're going to hit reset on as far as ideas and ways that you intend to revamp your business?
well, I mean, for me, we always traveled a lot. So like maybe we'd go out on the road for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, come home a week, maybe go out a week, come back home for a week. So I never had time. Which I'd been wanting to do was do a different type of record, something other than Zydeco, because I'm like, okay, we go to all these festivals all over the place, all the clubs, and do some kick butt jobs and everything. And fans love us and everything, but it's like I need a record that'll play on radio. And just knowing that Zydeco is limited on what station's gonna play it in what cities. Now we get to play just about every city, every state, but it's only to the people that know about Zydeco. So it's like I need to, with this COVID thing, I need to try and rebrand myself, go back in the studio, do something that I want to do, like follow my heart, just follow my dream, and just see if I could do me, like just go in, do whatever you feel, present it to the world, and see if they appreciate it. Because I think if they hear my music on another level to people that never heard it before, other besides Zydeco people, they would be like, I kind of like this, and that way I could start building a whole different fan base. So what we're trying to do right now during this off time, go in the studio, nice studio this time, because normally I've been actually doing things at my home, in my home studio, and just turning knobs myself. But this time we decided to, man, look, no times are hard right now, but I just broke my back and I was like, man, I'm gonna spend the money and go in a big studio, an engineer or somebody that actually does this, and let him put his touch on it and then see what happens from there. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to rebrand this thing. So when it's all over with, it'll be a new Curly Taylor. Well, not a new Curly Taylor, but a new Curly Taylor to the world, So that's what I'm doing with my downtime, trying to make it work in my favor.
That's a good plan,
I'm done.
man. Yeah, that's a good plan, man. I'm similar, the similar thing. I steady record, and I think what I'm doing with this off time is learning more of the business side now. Now I could focus on that. In the past, I like the last tour I did with Trudy in Europe. I had to set aside that time just for touring because it was like 3.5 to 4 weeks of straight touring. A gig every night. So I kind of spread myself thin when I try to do both. When I try to do the business and the music. So I said I'm gonna just devote all of my time to the music on this tour. I'm gonna set aside time, in January, February, with the business end. And so I guess it went longer since COVID. So now I'm learning things that I, didn't know, that I should have been doing, that I'm doing now. And as far as the music, I'm always trying to reinvent myself. I always try to challenge myself. And I've been doing that for years, and recorded a lot. And I was always, okay, I challenged myself, I did it, but I never released it. So now I'm at the point to where, okay, since COVID, since my dad passed away, I'm like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to just release it. I don't care what people think, I'm just going to release it. They could think, whatever they want, but it's, because of my heritage, I was always like, man, the blues people, they're not going to like this. I'm always trying to cater to them. But now it's like, I better just do this for me instead of worrying about what everybody else is thinking. So that's where I'm at.
I did that for a while, with the Zydeco, because it actually fed me, took care of my bills, took care of the family, and it did everything that it was supposed to do. But it's like I think I've already made that round to where, okay, if I stay in this round, that's all I'm gonna get. It's like a whirlwind. I'm gonna just keep going around and around, and which has been good. And the music also too. It almost, like you said, the blues. It'll put you in a block. They expect to hear this certain thing, and it's like, I'm kind of tired of it. Like, please let me take a break. Let me do me. So this record is about me actually just doing me, taking a chance. And I mean, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, I say I could go back to doing the Zydeco, but I just got a great feeling that this is going to work. And I'm happy. I'm proud. I'm feeling everything that we've done already,
And I've always, thought, and now I'm like letting it out that, that, you know, everyone know I could play blues, man. You know, everyone know I could play blues, you know, but everyone don't know what I could do outside of blues. And if they don't like it, I could always put out a all blues album. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know, I always put it out, you know, and I will, and I want to. You know, that's part of my plan is to reach as many people as possible so they can get this good genre, you know, that's like healthy and, you know, make you think and make you dance and make you feel good, you know. I,
Yes.
you know, that's the whole purpose of me reaching outside, you know, to a broader audience. That's you know, and being able to do it.
Yeah. It's,
And I
wishing you
think,
all the best, man.
yeah, to both of you.
Thank you, man. Same here, man.
But I think
Yeah.
it's interesting that what you guys are saying is what I've been waiting for you to do. You know, I loved your rock album, Wayne. It's the one I listen to all the time. And Curly, your R&B is what I put in all the time. And
Cool.
it's not for lack of appreciating the heritage. It's just because it is you, and I feel it's you.
Exactly.
So,
And
yay.
and that's the one thing, you know, that I never like uh like, you know, I noticed there was a lot of people, you know, riding, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan and, you know, trying to play like Stevie and look like him and everything. I never wanted to do that. You know, Hendrix, the same thing. I see people playing or trying to be like Hendrix, and I'm like, man, y'all doing Hendrix longer than Hendrix was Hendrix, you know. So
Exactly.
it's like, come on, man, you know, be yourself, be you, you know, and and that's how I've always came across. Some people, you know, like it or love it or don't like it, you know, and that's because they're like Curly just said, they're used to hearing a certain sound and they want to hear that, you know. Okay, your dad is doing this, your brother is doing this. How come you're not doing this? You know, type thing. Or, you know, has done this. How come you can't do it like that? You know, I like the way that sound. You know, make it sound like that. You know, and like, okay, I love Muddy, and you know, but me playing Muddy Waters type or cover tunes is not going to help me feed my family. It's not going to help me pay my bills. It's going to do it for a little while, but you know, by me, you know, owning the songwriters, the publishing, you know, the record label and everything, you know, it eases some of the pressures of an artist who have a label, have a, you know, um, a publishing company, you know, taking all the money, and you know, so it's more of, you know, trying to balance the right of being a musician and the right of being a businessman who's protecting what's yours.
But I also feel, boy, I'm going to
I just
open
want
this.
to add. I just want to add to to what Wayne said. I always, you know, because I don't. I will play traditional songs, Zydeco songs,
Absolutely.
or you know. But I tell everybody, it's like, why do you want me to? It's like an author for a book. If you're gonna get a chance to write a story, it's like you're gonna write, like he said, you're gonna write a story about Jimmy Vaughan, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix. You know, it's your book. So you want to write your story. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like they wrote their story. How you gonna? All right, here you can do whatever you want, and you're gonna go write something that's already been done. You know, it's like here's your chance to let the world see who you are and what you know. Let them see your soul. Let them take inside of you, and you write. You know, you write your own music. That's why I tell everybody, it's like I want to be me. I have to be me. I can't make it being Clifton Chenier, Rockin' Dope C, anybody, you know, Buckwheat. I can't. It's like I
Yeah.
have to write the Curly Taylor story. I
Yeah.
can't write those other guys'
Yeah, you can
stories.
always
So
honor them, you know, and don't get me wrong, you can always honor, you know, and have a certain, you know, section or whatever, you know,
I respect for them.
yeah, that show respect and honor for them. But to like, you know, do it all night, you know, do it all, all set, or all recording. It's to me, you know, you're just not being an individual. You're not
Yeah.
being, yourself. You're not being true to yourself. There's so many unique people out here, man, that have so many amazing talents that, if you just believe in yourself and do what best for you, you never know what you can achieve with it, man. That's how I look
Exactly.
at it.
Exactly.
And as a person who's been in the blues world 26 years now, I'm going to open the can of worms. One of my biggest frustrations with this genre is exactly this conversation. We can't be who your dad was. We didn't live that generation. Those stories are about that time.
That's right.
And we
Exactly.
need you to move this forward. And if it means that it starts to morph beyond what we got to know you as, that's okay. Because the more people you reach, the better for this genre it is.
Absolutely.
Because no matter how you change yourself or what you do, you're going to still have that heritage in
Yeah.
you and
Yeah.
it's going to come out.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
roots.
wished we could all come together and stop this conversation of what is blues and what isn't blues and look at it for what it is and embrace it. Don't throw it away.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
think
look
it's
at
good music. When you find good music, it's just good music, and
that's true.
and I sometimes people they like to classify this and that, but if it's good, it's good because I listen to music that most people wouldn't even believe I listen to, but because it's just good music, and you'd be like, Curly, you listen to that? Yeah, I dig them, But when it's just good music, you can't deny it. I'd rather do good music than something that sounds like what somebody else done that somebody else may appreciate. But if I don't like, but if it's good music, that's when it's good music, I'm in.
Unique and original.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I just look at it also as like, what would have happened if, we would have stifled Chuck Berry, at that time. Chuck Berry, and Bo Diddley, they was doing something way different than what Muddy and Howlin' Wolf was doing, but it reached, mass audience, and it evolved into something else after that. So, you know, that's why, some people, some purists, whatever they want to call themselves, they want to bottle up the blues, and put it in a bottle and examine it and be like, yeah, that's what I want. This is what I want all the time. This is what everybody should be coming out with. And you got to uncork that bottle and let that blues breathe, because it turns into something. Like Muddy, same thing. He plugged up and, turned it into, a sound, a Chicago sound that turned it to something else. And you can't do that. You got to let music evolve. Um, I believe that. You got to let it breathe. That's how I look at it. You got to let it breathe.
So I want to come back to your family history and I'm going to see if I can ask this question right. At what age were you when you discovered that someone in your family was famous?
I was 7 years old. I was seven, and I knew my dad, played guitar around the house, and like Christmas, he would grab the guitar and start playing, and making up songs and Christmas songs and everything, and just making the whole family, cheerful for that moment, and that's always a memorable thing for me, as dad being dad. But he can play guitar, he can make people laugh, he can make people have fun, he can make them get up and dance, and uh, and then I saw him. We went to go see him at the Chicago Fest at Navy Pier, and it was jam packed. And he was up there doing, his thing, and I'm like, wow. And then he started digging into a solo, and then he got on his knees and he started bending back like, you know, like a rock star, and people was reaching at him, and I was like, yo, that's my dad. That's my dad, yo. And that's when I knew. That's when I knew. And from that point on, you know, it was like, okay, dad really could rock the crowd.
That's cool,
Yep.
man.
How about you, Curly? Because you got your grandfather, your daddy, your uncle.
Yeah. Well, I guess what it started at an early age for me, like maybe around 7 or something like that, because we were in Lafayette, and I just knew I was around famous people but I was young. I was still a kid though. But my uncle, Lil Buck, Clifton Chenier, they would always come to the house to pick him up. So I started seeing some of these people, but I was young at heart, and you know, they'd be around. I'm like, they're gonna get paid to do whatever they do. You know, it's like they passing constantly in that van and that trailer. They're gonna get paid to do something that they like to do. And I'm like, okay. Started hanging around them, you know, the backyard, beating on buckets and stuff just to get started. And you know, so I knew I was around people and stuff that were famous, and like you would hear their name and they're like, that's my uncle they're talking about, you know. And you know, then as time progressed, then my dad started his band, so they started. So that's how I got my first break, playing with my dad, because I'm finding out they paying him to do this too now. It's like, so they rehearsing and he playing piano in the house, and I got books on the thing while his drummer there, and because I was still young and I was just beating and stuff. I'm like, well, once they finish this, they going somewhere and they going to get paid to do this. Oh, all right. So like, somebody must know who they are to pay them to do this kind of stuff. And one night, as time progressed, I got a little older, and times passed, and I think I was about like 15 years old. And one night, my dad drummer couldn't make it to the show, and I had been kind of playing, and then he like, hey, you ready to go play tonight? And I remember it was a little club we played, and just going over there knowing that, hey, they must know who my dad is or whatever. And that's how I got my break, to know that, all right, they know him. Then he started taking me on tour with his bands to Canada, all over the place and everything. I'm like, wow. And I guess ever since that, it started to be rooted in me. You know, like you said, you plant something and you water it. And most likely, I tell everybody, we are offsprings of our fathers, of our parents, you know. Most likely, if your dad played music, you're going to be playing music. If your dad was a dentist, most likely you'll be doing teeth. You know, if he's doctor, it'll be doing, and it just shows how you are a part of what you see. And I mean, you don't have to, because some people do break off, you know, but most of the time you become part of that environment growing up in. That's just where it took me, you know.
Yeah, my dad always made it fun for us. He wasn't like Joe Jackson, you know. He always made it fun for us, man. He would use it against us, like, you know, he knew we loved it so much. He was like, "All right, go do your homework first." You know, we hurry
Oh,
up and go do
great.
our homework. You know, or go clean up your room, go wash the dishes, go do this, go do that, and we'll hurry up and go do it. You know, just to like be with him and do what he's doing. You know.
And the crazy thing, growing up, you know, to play in my dad band first, since I was that young, of such a big age difference, it's like I never thought I'd have played Zydeco music, because I was like the youngest person going to the club, and there was all these older people, so I had no one to connect with, but just the guys in the band, you know. So I never thought I was gonna play Zydeco music, but then I seen where the door opened up, and I was able to do it, and start making a living at it, you know. But it just came over me, and it fell in my lap.
And what year was that you started your solo career?
I started, I think, in 03,
Okay.
2003. So It's about like 18, I think something like that. 18, 17 years of playing. I was like, dang, time flies. Time flies.
And Wayne, you played with your dad until he passed. Rest in peace. I
Yes.
will miss your dad. How old
We
were
are,
you
yeah.
when you launched your solo career?
Well, I started traveling with Dad as a guitar tech officially in 1988.
88.
And in 1999, well, Ronnie was the rhythm guitar. O.C. Anderson, I remember, Larry, O.C. Anderson, and Dion, you know, before O.C. Anderson. And then it was O.C. Anderson and Ronnie as rhythm guitars in the band. And, I was still, guitar tech and roadie, merchandise, road manager, driver / whatever Dad needed. And Ronnie left in 1999. I was going to leave in 1997. And because I started my band in 1997, and I had my very first gig booked in Kalamazoo, and it was for the Kalamazoo Blues Society, and we sold that sucker out. That was my first gig, a sold out show, and I couldn't believe it, and Larry Bivens couldn't believe it either. But it was in 1997. But then Ronnie left in 1999, so I picked up the rhythm guitar slot in my dad's band. So I continued to do my dad and my own from 1997 on. Yeah,
97.
I
Cool.
know.
So you started playing with your dad. You started
We're all
touring
some
with your
young
dad.
cats, man. We're young.
Oh my, yeah. Well, yes, we are.
Yes.
You're as young as you feel forever, and that's what matters.
I'm 50 years old, and I really don't feel 50, to be honest. I look 50 with the gray and everything, but I really don't feel it.
And that's why I was hesitating when you said 88, because I've always thought we were the same age. And so, did you graduate in 87 or 88 from high
I
school?
graduated in 88. I started
Okay.
traveling with him in fall of, November 1988.
How old are you, Curly? You're younger than
Young.
us. I know you
I'm
are.
I'm
Oh,
young.
come on. Come on. It's a woman's thing
Well,
to not
hey,
tell their
look,
age.
yeah, so we're all in the same age.
Oh, he's one of them.
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, I was kind of looking just like Wayne before. I'm like, you know what? Let me go get rid of some of this right quick. It's just gonna look shiny, They won't be able to tell.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
that's funny.
But I'm having fun with life, Kind of ache a little more, but holding that heavy accordion all night is kind of taking its toll on me. So I'm
Yeah.
just ready to do something else,
Yeah.
So, let me see if I'm following this correctly. So, we're all in this downtime. We've all been given this reset button. We're all looking at life coming out of the gate differently. So, I made this comment last night, like, well, this is what I'm making right now, which is zero. So, anything I do is going to be more. So, both of you are talking about doing something really different. Are you going to take the risk and focus on this new guy, Curly, this R&B guy, and grow that, or is Zydeco Trouble still available?
Well, Zydeco Trouble is still available because I'm not in a position where I can turn down any money. So if someone calls me after all this is over, we will be doing that show. But we're gonna start watering this plant right now because I'm just overwhelmed with what we've done, which I knew the band always had it, and not to say that I'm financially in a position to do it now than I did back then because I hadn't been working really since March. But I've just like took the money and I'm like, let me go in the studio where I know my band is this good. I know my music is this good. And I'm like, some people know it, but I'm like, let me just give it the equal playing field. You know, it's like, yeah, you recorded this in the room. You don't really know how to get all these big sounds. You know what you want to hear, but you don't, like to where it is that next level. Uh-oh. Curly Tails out
See,
of
they
control.
calling the bookie right now.
Stop that. Hold on. 1 second.
That's great.
Yeah,
They're like,
but
oh, he wants to play.
oh, if they want to give me some money, just leave the message and I will be back. But yeah, so and now it's like I finally get a chance to, because I guess I use the excuse that we travel all the time, because we just home like a week. And when I'm home a week, I got to catch up all the things that I've got around the house I need to catch up on. And so I can't bring the guys in the studio. Don't have enough time to sit down, write, and get all this together. But unfortunately, this happened, but it gave me all this time. So now it's like, now what's your excuse if you don't get this record done? So I didn't want to look at myself and say, you know what, you're just a procrastinator. You talk about you want to do it, but you had all this time and you didn't do anything. So it's like I just sucked it up, come up with the money, and decided to go in the studio and bring the guys in. And I'm like, wow, so I hear now what I'm supposed to be at now. And I'm excited, man, And I just want the world to accept it and hear it. I think they should accept it. It's just to make sure I find the right avenues for them to hear it,
Yeah.
Because, I can do a good record, but if nobody hears it, then so much for that,
Yeah, I figure people, they don't want to just hear it; they want to be spoken to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gotta be touching it.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll touch them on this one, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Wayne, I have always wanted to write a dummies manual, and I wanted mine to be about how to be married to a musician. I would never do it for that reason, so I think it validates my right to write the book. But you are an author of a dummies manual, and you are the author of Blues for Dummies.
Yes, I am.
How did this come to be?
I'm a co-author, and we were playing the Chicago Blues Festival in 1996. And this was the first weekend that we had off, because we were always working. Dad was doing, like 285 gigs a night at one point in his career, like from the 80s, early 90s. Throughout the Clinton years, we were doing a lot of touring. And this was our first weekend off in our own city where we could enjoy the Chicago Blues Festival. And as we were walking down the street and everything, we walked into Muddy Waters' house. His house, from Stovall Plantation. They brought it from the plantation to the city of Chicago and planted it right on Columbus and Randolph, I want to believe, near Randolph. And I walked in, and I'm looking at this little shack that supposedly 17 to 18 people lived in. And they had, pictures and music going, and I was just in awe, like wow, like this is where the greatest blues musician in the world come from. This is where he was born, raised, worked, and I was just in awe. And then I got angry that they uprooted this man's house and had to bring it to let people know who this man is. When people flock to Graceland to go see Elvis Presley, and who took, black blues and made it to the masses. And I was like, something is wrong there. They need to know who Muddy Waters is. I'm gonna write a book about this. And came up with the idea, took it to them, and we ran off and wrote a book.
And how
Love
many
the idea.
years? How many years from that thought to publication?
Well, um, from 96, it was, yeah, the summer of 96 from the idea, and they loved the idea. And it went into production. We started writing it like probably like 3 months, 4 months later. So
Mm.
from 96 to 98. And it was already ready within a year. But the one of the problems was, we wanted to have a CD of like, all the greatest musics, all the greatest blues songs, on the CD. We had other plans with it, but those plans fell through. So, um, getting the songs licensed and, all that, it took like another year. So from 96 to 98, that's when it was published in August of 98,
Hmm.
1998. And, it was easy with me dealing with, the publishing company loved, the whole idea and loved me and everything. But, I had my dad involved with it. He's a co-author. And then I had Cub Coda. I got in contact with Cub Coda and got him involved with it. But the hardest part was getting my dad involved with it. I took that, told him, I said, man, Dad, man, I got an opportunity that I love for you to be a part of, because they was looking for a legend to verify, everything that Cub and I would write. And so, right away I was thinking my dad, and I wasn't thinking anybody else just yet. So I went to him. I said, Dad, man, I got this opportunity to write a book. I want you to be a part of it. I want you to be a co-author with me. He's like, oh yeah? He said, what's the name of it? I said, Blues for Dummies. He go, man, I ain't going around calling nobody no dummy, you dummy. And I felt like, Lamont Sanford after that, and so I went, told them, I was like, man, I don't know, well, let's try to get in touch with, John Lee Hooker and BB King and Robert Cray, and see if we can, get them involved, because I don't know, my dad might not want to be a part of it. So I went to him again. I said, man, Dad, I just want to make sure, you sure you don't want to be a part of this book? This publishing company is everywhere. You should. I said, do me a favor, you and Mom go to, to the mall or wherever, and go to any bookstore, and you'll see the yellow and black books everywhere. They got it everywhere. He was like, okay, I'll go check it out. So he came back home. I said, did you check it out? Did you check it out, man? He was like, yeah, I saw those books everywhere. I saw Beer for Dummies. I saw Wine for Dummies. I even saw Sex for Dummies. I said, so you gonna do it? He was like, nope. I was like, oh man. I said, oh, I just wanted to make sure, man, because I talked with BB, and BB said, yeah, son, I'll do it. I love to do it. I talked with Robert Cray. He was like, man, this is something that we all should, have. This is great, great idea. And John Lee Hooker said, pay me, I'll do it. and and Dad said, wait a minute. He said, BB said he'll do it. I said, yeah, BB said he'll do it. He said, that's all right, I'll do it then. So he ended up being a part of the as a co-author through peer pressure.
Peer pressure. And your dad was not one to ever throw peer pressure at.
No, exactly. But when he realized that the top guys in the business wanted to be a part of it, that's when he was like, okay, this is something serious. I thought you was just, joking around, but this is something serious. So let's do it. That's what it all boiled down to.
That's cool.
That's great. So I want to start to wrap this up. I so appreciate you guys being here. And Curly and I had a talk earlier this morning briefly, and he said something very prolific to me that I would like to hear both of your statements in regards to this. And what you said to me, Curly, was the healing will begin when the music returns.
So
How does
healing,
that What does that mean to you? Explain that to me.
Well, I was like the healing and the cure because it's like everybody's just down and everything. And there's nothing like music. Music has a frequency that'll hit your soul, man. And music get people through the days. I mean, some of the darkest days and everything. And music is just such a healing, just a healing thing, man. And once you have good music, you're healed. Yeah, that's all I can say is like it heals you. It's good for the soul. I mean, people that I've seen like don't want to go like live anymore, just in a real slump. If you give them music, good music, it brings them back to life. And I just think right now everybody is real in a slump, depressed, we can't do anything. But now, it no mean I want everybody to flock up and get people sick. But as soon as the music returns, you'll see everybody back smiling again, living life again. And that's what I just said. When music returns, the healing returns.
I
Love
It
truly
that.
starts
believe
the
in that as well.
process.
I truly believe in that as well because we all consume music now, but it's nothing like the live experience of being, you know, in front of the person that created the song that you love so much, and possibly could be singing directly to you. That's an experience that everyone has felt before and want to continue to feel to heal. It's like you said, to heal, because yeah, people are in a slump. People are in down and out. People are dying, literally dying to go out and do things and experience things, but can't. And music will be one of the first cures. Yep,
Yes.
of that
Never.
blues.
I mean, I'm most sure none of us walking this earth has ever experienced anything like this. So I know it's new and foreign to us all because, I mean, my 49 years of being here on this earth. Oh, all right. Um, which I'll make that 50 this year. But anyway, since um 15 is when I started going and playing music, live music in clubs. And just about every weekend, I knew a schedule of what I was out mingling with people. I was doing my thing since about that age of my life. And to say like now that is not just taken away from me, taken away from everybody's like what I knew is no longer there. So I'm just in kind of in this slump, but like hoping when will this return?
Yeah,
When can I get back to life like it was, if it'll ever be? And just not knowing what the future holds. It's
yeah,
crazy, but
yeah. It's a healing process for us as well as musicians. You know, that's where usually we get a lot of our therapy is up on stage from our everyday life, what the things that we go through, and that's it's therapeutic for us, as well. But it also transcends to people who can't play music. They understand because they go through the same things, the everyday life that we go through. So it's a healing process for both the musicians and the people as well. I truly believe that too.
And that's a really valid point you bring up, Curly, that I haven't digested yet. You know, as an agent, I'm always in the future. You call me that day. If I'm not looking at your calendar, I don't know where you are. I just know that, January 28th is still open, and that's what I'm working on. So you're right. Part of this quietness is realizing that there's nothing on the books. I mean, technically, we've all transferred 2020 to 21, but it's still a waiting period. You
yes,
know,
And
they,
and
they
and now they're saying that the end of 2021 is when things could get back to quote unquote normal, which is a scary thought as a musician because that's how And these days, if you're not with a label that's pushing the hell out of you, it's difficult to reap some kind of royalty or, income, um, other than touring, so yeah, it's a challenge, but that's what, that's what we got to work on, is to make sure that they don't fall into 2022. That's what we need to do is everybody just be
Lord,
patient
no.
and
Well,
be
I'm
Woosah.
on.
Let's have a woosah moment
woo-star.
there.
I mean,
you know,
I told you guys I went back to work this week, not expecting to change anything other than just start some dialogue. Um, and my favorite words have been, we're creative purveyors. And if we are all in this together, then let's join forces, figure out how to do this. Is it virtual? Is it outside? Is it pre-recorded to be aired later? Because if we cannot participate in the live element, which I think is what we are all missing, then what can we do to secure that the creative, artistic people in this world have a means to continue what they've worked so hard to make a living at?
Live
crazy.
streaming. I think that's a patch right now, an inner tube patch, but there's nothing like live, in person. There's nothing like that, and I think that's the goal is to get back to that. Um, but I don't know. Please tell me the magic key. Give me the magic key.
We're gonna find
Exactly.
it. That I think we're all in that space now. We're ready. We're ready to say this happened. We want everybody to be healthy, safe,
Yes.
What about
uh,
the clubs closing? And that's going on every single day,
everywhere.
everywhere, every day. You
And
know,
how will they be able to reopen? It's like if they lose it, how they gonna reopen and go back and say, "Oh, I'm ready to open up my club,"
yeah,
if
it
it's
don't
not
work like that.
theirs,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's crazy.
Have you,
But
Tina? Have you dealt with clubs that you were like working with, and then bam, all of a sudden they're gone?
Everybody I'm still contracted with is hanging on.
That's
I,
beautiful.
and I should say that was as of July 30th.
Hmm.
Um, where that lies now that there is no means for us to get some kind of help, I think we won't know that answer till the end of the year.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know, is there going to be, does the Save the Stages go through? Do they get the funding that they need to keep these venues open? Um, but I'm also in a place like when you hear these iconic venues are closing, you don't know the behind the scenes. Were they ready to retire? Um,
hmm, yeah,
so
yeah,
I think everything, and I think again that's the beauty of this moment. It's a restart button for the entire industry, and we're all going to have to reformat how we're doing this.
yes,
I think the people, I mean, I feel the most sorry for the big guys because I see their thing being difficult to do for 2 more years. But I also don't feel sorry for them because their mailbox money is still coming in.
absolutely, absolutely.
you know,
it's the little
Yeah.
guys that's dying.
It's the
right?
little guys. It's the little guys that
It's
have
the
the most
creative.
troubles. Yeah, it's the creatives.
The creatives are the ones who are in jeopardy.
Yeah,
And that's no offense, but you reach a point in your career where you can do an album every 10 years, tour once every 15. And so that's not to me necessarily the driving creative
yeah.
of what we do.
Well, yeah. And then today, with technology telling you that you can be very successful if you put out an album every week, you know, um, yeah, it's that balance that I was talking about.
And what I'm noticing the trend being on that side is they release singles to come back later to release the album.
Yeah.
And if our music has become, our business is identical to mainstream now, that, you know, we became an even playing field with that 2 years ago. So why are we not doing that?
Yeah.
You know, they do a single and a video, a single and a video. So
that single, you know, I actually think, which I've already come to believe, that now doing CDs, it's only going to be a promotional tool to give you like work, because I mean, with everybody just downloading this and that, and yeah, you'll get a few pennies off of it download, but I mean, it's like not like CD sales were crazy, but now it's like you'll do a CD just to promote your name, you know, just to put something out there so people know about you, to get work, you know. It's crazy now.
well, I'm still old school like that. And as I tell many people in my life, I may look like a museum and I'm okay with it. I will always want to hold it, read it, see it, remind myself who plays in it. Just those fun things that you don't get on the download.
Yeah. And that's majority of the blues listener. That's what they love. You know, they love something tangible. They love, you know, their favorite artist and want that autograph, especially to them from their favorite artist. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know, because I would watch my dad and BB while on tour. They would sit there and wait until the very last person, no matter if it's 2,000 people wanting a CD and an autograph or just an autograph. They would sit there and wait, you know. And to me, that's real fan interaction. When you say technology and fan interaction, you know, with Instagram and, you know, no, fan interaction is BB King and Lonnie Brooks, you know, waiting for that very last person to stand up and say, all right, anybody else? Anybody, you sure? Because we're leaving now. You know, that's, you know, someone who's passionate about their job, love their job, and love the people.
Exactly. You know, because it shows that they love what they're doing. It's, you know, and that they appreciate the people and their fans. Because some people will get off the stage, blah, 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 go sell them a CD, but they won't even come out and sign, you know. And it's like, I don't know, people, how you want to connect. Yeah, you could put on a killer show and everything, but if you'd have gone that extra mile just to meet them and let them connect with you, and maybe you can't meet all 2,000, but still come out and just show that you appreciated them for coming to the show. And to me, it just goes a long, long way.
It goes a long way, man. You go from, you know, in their thoughts to in their hearts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good one.
Oh, I'm so grateful that you guys did this, and I just I was racing this morning, realizing how much you two had in common, and how much you two need to meet. So I'm glad.
Thanks, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure meeting you, Curly, man.
Most definitely, man, and we will stay in contact, man. Nice to meet you.
Absolutely, cool, man. Dude. You know, my dad, you know, again played with Clifton.
Okay.
And you know, he incorporated that in his blues style. Mm-hmm. And you know, he would always listen to Clifton and, you know, Buckwheat, and, you know, we love Chubby and Terrence and, you know, all those guys. And there's a connection, you know, there's a Creole connection going there. So
exactly. Yeah. It's nice to meet you, and hopefully we're gonna meet somewhere. Well, I know we'll meet somewhere down the road, and hopefully we'll do some things together in the future, man.
Right on, Curly. Absolutely.
I will be looking out for you. Thank you, Tina.
Oh, thank you, guys. Oh, you guys have a wonderful week.
You too.
Solar hugs, and I'll see you soon.
Most definitely. Peace. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Gig Sessions Lunchtime Talk. If you liked this video, please click like. If you'd like to know when we go live, please hit subscribe. And for all of you Jason Ricci fans out there, we're launching a new series tomorrow called Fanfare Fridays, where you, the fan, gets to ask the questions. Please go to our Facebook page for full details, and Jason and I will see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.